Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. Your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any Watchbox platform. Reach out to me at tmosso@thewatchbox.com for pricing. Today, we are discussing an Oris Aquis Dat Watt 2021 limited edition of 2009 pieces. 43.5 millimeters in stainless steel. This timepiece is part of the Aquis line, and it is dedicated to maritime conservation, Watt being an enormous Watton Sea that is a tidal zone whereby huge expanses of acreage are exposed and submerged on a daily basis in the course of tidal action. So, of course, that is part of Oris's long-running marine and water preservation program. That's where this watch comes from, but it is an attractive timepiece, conservation notwithstanding. Taking a quick look at the watch, 43.5 millimeters in stainless steel. It's 13.9 millimeters thick, 50.1 millimeters from lug to lug, and has an integrated bracelet with a proprietary lug junction. We'll zoom out a little bit, take a look at this watch on my wrist, which is 16 centimeters in circumference, and it actually fits quite well. It's a big watch, but because it's only 50 millimeters across the wrist, you can wear this watch on a wrist as small as 14 centimeters circumference. In my estimation, because it is fairly thin for what it is, and the lugs are sharply downward curved and short across, you can get away with wearing this on a smaller wrist. And you can see the further away from the camera, the better it looks on my wrist. It's a very solidly assembled thing, and you can see, surprisingly, given the price point, the bracelet is held onto the case using screws and bars, something associated with Panerai probably more than any other brand. It's more secure than spring bars, and I'm happy to see it here. The bracelet has a taper down from the lugs, which is what you expect to see on more expensive watches. You can see this one probably wasn't enjoyed by the original owner. Sometimes people buy expensive watches and they lose their nerve and they sell them before unsheathing them from plastic. And that's what we have here. Your benefit, though, because you're getting this watch essentially untouched. You can see removable links are fixed in place by screws, which is more than you'd expect given the price point of this watch. You might expect to see pin sleeves rather than screw-fixed removable links. So this is punching above its weight from a price point standpoint. We also have half links on each side. And then we have a fold-out dive extension and 3 divots drilled in the side of the clasp, so you can use your strap tool to change the anchoring point of the clasp inside, or the bracelet inside the clasp, I should say. And it's a twin trigger release clasp. I would have expected a cheaper clamshell at this price point, and also the gauge of the steel used on the clasp is thicker than I would expect, once again, for a watch sold at this price. The case is distinctive. Rather than the blended lug profile we see on Rolex and Omega Dive watches, here the lugs are broken out pretty substantially. There's satin finish on the case, which you can see is a little bit of a conical profile. It actually thins as you move up toward the bezel. The lug tops are polished. We have screw-fixed crown guards, so I guess if they get gouged, you can remove them. By removing the screw, you can replace the crown guards. We have a large knurled crown with an Oris logo outboard. It is a screw down. The watch is 300 meters water resistant. The bezel has a very agreeable click to it and a wonderfully positive sound to its detent. It is 120 click, and it also has a hugely scratch-resistant tungsten inlay, which includes white lacquer for the numerals and indices. And we'll turn the light off so you can see the loom shot. It's a well-loomed watch with all 3 hands loomed, and then the bezel pearl loomed as well. You can also see that when you align the pearl with the minute hand, you have a 0 to 60 minute count up timer. All applique indices, once again, Oris surprising as you'd expect printed features on this dial. We have applied steel indices that are half satinated, half polished with rhodium plating to make them shine, and the hands center likewise have rhodium plating. The watch has a gradient dial from dark blue at the top to sort of a slate blue at the bottom, and it represents the constant shift of tide across the Watton Sea. And truly, when huge expanses are opened up by a few feet of tidal change, you get the impression of a constantly shifting zone that's neither land nor sea, but perpetually in between. It's a huge habitat for birds, for fish, for mud-dwelling organisms. It's a popular tourist attraction, and because of the effect the tides have on this immensely changeable landscape, we have both the moon phase with the age of the moon. You can see the little phases of the moon alongside the age. It's a conventional 29.5-day moon phase cycle. And then you have another register within this hourglass-shaped structure that will show you the waxing and waning tides. So you have a tide height indicator and a moon phase. as well as moon age indicator. The watch includes quick sets. We'll show some of the subsidiary setting modes. There's a stop seconds function. There is a quick set for the date, and then in the opposite direction you set the moon phase indicator. So that's how that works. Inside the case, underneath the commemorative case back, we have a Sellita SW220, which is basically Sellita's version of a ETA 2836. Automatic winding, bidirectional winding, 26 joules, 8 beats per second, the quick set for the moon phase as well as the date, and a 38-hour bidirectional winding power reserve. And you can see once again it is 300 meters water resistant. Reach out to Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details.